Some Adventist pioneers were against a formal organization, but Ellen White was given a vision in 1850 which revealed to her the order in heaven. She was also shown that there must be order to God's work on this earth. To provide for the support of the ministry, for carrying the work in new fields, for protecting both the churches and the ministry from unworthy members, for holding church property, for the publication of the truth through the presses, and for many other objects, organization was indispensable. In 1860, a group of leaders assembled in the Second Battle Creek Church and discussed the issue of organization. Some vigorously objected to giving the Advent movement a name. James White remarked, "It seems to me that the child has now grown so big that it is exceedingly awkward to not have a name for it." After more discussion, a momentous resolution was adopted, resolved that we call ourselves Seventhday Adventists. Sister White tells us later that God inspired this name. In fact, she says that this name is a rebuke to the Protestant churches, because the Seventh Day emphasizes the Ten Commandments and the keeping of all the commandments of God, and the Adventist is emphasizing the second coming. But today, we have in some of our churches this philosophy: let's take Seventh-day Adventist off and we'll call it something else. We'll call it something community church, with little maybe small fine print, member of the Seventh-day Adventist church, because we are now de-emphasizing. It is not the best policy to strike out so blazingly. But we're told that this name is a rebuke and we should uphold it high. But it wasn't until May 1863 that the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists was organized. James White was enthusiastically nominated the first General Conference president, but he declined in order to remove any suspicion for his motives for church organization. How often are we hungry for church position? How hungry are we for church power? Here James was offered the presidency and he refused it because he knew people would use that as an accusation that he only did this to get power. He humbled himself so that the work will go forward. John Biant was elected as first General Conference president. Biant was a man of courage and dedication. At one time he helped southern slaves flee north to Canada. He had also been a circuit preacher for the Methodist Church. But how did John Biant become a Seventh-day Adventist? But in 1852 he became an Adventist through reading the Review and Herald. Again, the literature work. We're told that the publications are like silent preachers. They'll get into places that the pastor and the ministers and the Bible workers cannot get into. But the literature will. The literature ministry will make great grounds. And Sister White tells us there are certain books that need to get out. We're told the Conflict of the Ages series. We're told that Great Controversy, Ministry of Healing, Thoughts on Daniel and Revelation. These are books that need to go out with power. Yet today we find ourselves emphasizing other articles and other publications. That the work of God is to push out the spirit of prophecy. Uriah Smith was selected as the secretary of the General Conference. The new enlarged Review and Herald offices became the General Conference headquarters as well. So, God has now formed the Seventh-day Adventist Church in 1862. So what now? What is the emphasis? How much truth has God given to Seventh-day Adventists? SDAs have in trust the greatest wealth of truth ever committed to mortals. Christ healed the people, and then to those whom he healed, and to those who had witnessed his healing, he preached the gospel of the kingdom. This is the work outlined before those who have in trust the greatest wealth of truth ever committed to mortals. The question for us to answer is, are we willing to leave self out of the consideration? Are our energy spent in the Master's service? Are our voices often raised in earnest supplication for power from on high? Is our faith pure and strong? Have we put away all prejudice, all evil thinking and evil speaking? Are our affections set on things above, or are they twined about the things on this earth? Are our eyes open to see the needs of those around us? Can God call us faithful watchmen? Is it necessary for Seventhday Adventists to go to non-Seventhday Adventists for further light on the present truth? The different parties of professed Advent believers have each a little truth, but God has given all these truths to His children who are being prepared for the day of God. He has also given them truths that none of these parties know. Neither will they understand. Things which are sealed up to them, the Lord has opened to those who will see and are ready to understand. If God has any new light to communicate, He will let His chosen and beloved understand it, without their going to have their minds enlightened by hearing those who are in darkness and in error. I make no apologies. We are told that the other churches constitute the fallen churches of Babylon. We have concepts like the Willow Creek, the Purpose-Driven Church, Purpose-Driven Life, Alpha courses. These are coming from the Babylonian churches. Why are we getting involved with these things? There's no need. There is no light that we can gain from. When it comes to evangelism, we'd rather put our books down and say, what's Willow Creek doing? How comes they have so many thousands of members? But there's a church in Korea. And they went to this pastor and they said, how is it that your church is growing so big? He says, well, I studied 2 books. Book Evangelism and Gospel Workers. Non-Adventists are reading their own books and their churches are growing. Doesn't that tell us something? We have the light on nearly every single subject. We have the light on health, we have the light on education, we have the light on courtship, we have the light on family health, we have the light on publications. We have the light. The reason why we're struggling is because we've put away the pioneers, we've put away the testimonies, and we're saying we're in darkness. Where is the light? Oh, Willow Creek over there seems to be doing well. Let's go over there. We need to go back to our pioneer position, back to the Bible, and back to the spirit of prophecy. Should SDAs feel free to attend non-SDA religious meetings? You know, I think there's a big function down in the south, and so many times we invite non-Adventist speakers. Why are we inviting non-Adventist speakers? We should be teaching the non-Adventists how to preach, how to teach. I was shown the necessity of those who believe that we are having the last message of mercy, being separate from those who are daily imbibing new errors. I saw that neither young nor old should attend their meetings, for it is wrong to thus encourage them while they teach error that is a deadly poison to the soul, and teach for doctrines the commandments of men. The influence of such gatherings is not good. If God has delivered us from such darkness and error, we should stand fast in the liberty wherewith He has set us free, and rejoice in the truth. These statements aren't said in arrogance, or we are superior. It is one of responsibility. With great light comes great responsibility and great burden and emphasis to share this light with those that are in darkness and error. Why are we going to these non-religious programs? The only motive we should go is to do evangelism there, or if you've been asked to preach there. How does God feel when we listen to error? God is displeased with us when we go to listen to error without being obliged to go. For unless He sends us to those meetings where error is enforced home to the people by the power of the will, He will not keep us. The angels cease their watchful care over us, and we are left to the buffetings of the enemy, to be darkened and weakened by him and the power of his evil angels, and the light around us becomes contaminated with the darkness. You know, more and more Adventists are now are getting involved with the God channel, watching the God channel, watching Pentecostal preachers who don't understand Daniel and Revelation like we do not understand the truth like we do, and yet they're so hooked on these non-Adventist preachers. And what do? We listen to non-Adventist music with beats and drums that have no gospel message whatsoever. When Babylonian views are introduced, how should we respond? And when men standing in the position of leaders and teachers work under the